this is on the airstrip, the retired old airstrip.
Yep, the old landing field here.
So do they still use this as
No, not for years now. It's been in disrepair for years.
Yeah, I meant to ask. I was looking at the footprint. I mean, in all three cases, at least in Holly and here, the strip is underneath all of the panels.
Yep.
So has it just been out of use for that long that there was no value in keeping it as was?
Exactly. It was a perfect place for them to reach the base to reach their renewable goals.
Huh.
You know what's really interesting is my dad used to land helicopters here and at Holly, and now they're solar fields.
Wow. So they don't even use them as outlying as landing fields
Nope.
for anything. It's just property.
Yep, exactly right.
Some of the panels are on the ground, but to have them on the property is really better because it's less vegetation goes up around them and less, that's that lines up. But, Holly, part of it's on.
And that's true at Eglin also. Same thing. That one's not used either.
Eglin was not an airfield. It was just
an
land.
open space. Okay.
The only thing you can't do is take any pictures for this one here.
Which is this way.
That way.
Okay.
Yeah, right there.
Got. Oh, over there. Okay.
Good.
I didn't realize.
It's big when you start driving around because it even goes extends out that.
So why does the military retain the property instead of just selling it? I assume they
Because
could
they
make.
have goals they have to reach. By the federal government has given them mandates. You must have this much renewable property on your renewable energy on your property by this date. And so this is the perfect solution of what to do with that land.
Huh.
Put the renewable energy in,
And the panels are all fixed, right? They don't move or orient
No.
towards the sun.
They're all
Okay,
fixed.
but they're south facing, so catching.
Well, in fact, they're positioned to capture the sun at the highest amount of sun or the volume of sun
On
that
average.
coincides with our peak demand during the day.
Oh, okay. To offset instead of to store.
anything on the panels, and this little unstable, right here it's asphalt, but if we go somewhere where it's already been improved land, it might be a little soft, so be careful walking around.
Don't touch because of danger to me or danger to the panels.
Well, both. I mean, oil film does do something to the surface. These panels have an anti-glare coating on them, and it kind of degrades that. And then also, if there was a micro crack in one, and you actually could be exposed to the voltage if the right conditions happen. So possibility of shock, and then everything else is really protected, but you don't know if there's a failure in the insulation or anything like that. So to keep everybody safe, just don't touch. And there are some sharp edges on the steel. So
Yeah, be careful when
but
you're
yeah,
walking around the edges.
don't go up under there, because if you accidentally stood up and could affect your cranium. Other than that, it's wide open.
Yeah.
We'll look at the panels, and we'll actually stop at one of the inverters on the way back, and around there, we just can't get on top of the platform or anything like that. But we can talk about it. And it's a little high-pitched sound there, and that's the DC being changed to AC.
So power being
that's about
generated.
it. Yeah.
And if you want to climb up on the pickup bed,
You can take a picture out of that.
And this is how many acres out here?
360-ish.
At this one location, right?
Yes. You can see. Look at. You can see how they start lining up. There's a little section right here that's not lined up. But then if you start looking down the line, you can see how the clamps are pretty well lined up.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Like seats in a stadium.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. Like a pattern.
And what's the capacity out here? 15? 50 from this one
The
location.
largest of the three.
Okay. And does it operate at 50, or does it? What does it
Well,
typically
depends on
operate
the
at?
sun. Like right now, he's going to pull it up. It's probably running about 3 to 10, maybe.
We'll look at
He'll be able to pull up on his computer.
this generates that capacity enough to produce enough energy to power
Yeah, it says
7,000.
18,000.
Yeah, for the 3 fields, but this one alone
Oh, I
is
get it.
7,400 homes.
I forget the number off the top of my head. 485,000 customers. Do you mean?
460, yeah.
Do you mean households or do you mean
Households.
individuals? So
Meters, yeah.
okay. So this supplies 7,400 meters.
Well, it supplies enough energy to power up 7,400 average homes, and,
Okay.
and it's an
It has the
average
capacity.
home burns about 13,300 kilowatt hours a year.
Okay.
Is what that's the number we use right now.
Okay. So homes and the 465,000 users are roughly equivalent. Typically equivalent.
I mean meters. I mean I got commercial and industrial in there too. So I don't know how that. I mean, if you looked at users, I mean you'd have to look at residential customers, and it'd be less than 465,000.
So these 3 fields, produce 120 megawatts of energy, and generate 120 megawatts of energy, and that's at capacity is enough to provide power to 18,000 homes.
So you were saying as we were driving out here that the military had goals where they had to satisfy certain federal requirements of land use and sustainable energy. But this is your project, not their project. How does that work? If the power is
It qualified.
okay, because
It qualified.
if the power is going to residential consumers,
Yeah.
why does it satisfy the military necessity
It's
for
on their
renewable?
property.
Yeah. And
It's
well, they're getting
utilization.
it too.
They're
Okay.
getting it. They're one of
all
our customers.
are getting it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, so their property, they have to have a certain number of.
So it goes to their
Percentage, yeah.
energy efficiency mandates
Okay.
that they need to have.
Even if it's not being used by the military
well,
per se.
I mean, they are one of our customers. And
Okay.
so they are getting the benefits of
Okay.
the renewable energy as well.
So let's say it's going to 7,000 homes here in Escambia, but it's being offset for whatever use is being done by Eglin or Whiting or
It goes
whatever.
on our grid, so
Yeah,
it's
so that's
Right,
an
okay.
equivalent
it's,
amount
it's
of energy.
equivalent.
Okay.
So it's going onto the grid with all the rest of the generation out there. So we just talk about it's an equivalent amount of energy to power 7,000 homes.
So how long did,
Went into the ground.
Yeah.
That's how precise it was.
Very precise.
if you put up a traditional generating station in today's world, it takes how long to put that?
So the Navy actually owns all the facility here.
That's right.
So they own all the
Property.
infrastructure. They paid for the solar
Actually,
panels.
Coronal owns, the developer owns all of that.
Okay, who's that?
And Coronal is the third-party developer that constructed, planned, designed, and constructed this.
Okay.
I'll give you that.
Okay, all right.
Does the Navy get some sort of break on the power that it gets out of this?
No, but I mean, again, they had some renewable goals they were mandated to reach, and this helps them achieve that.
And this was a greenfield previously.
Yes. Well, it was a runway at one point, but it's been
An outlying
dormant for a
field
while.
for the Navy.
Yeah,
Mhm.
dormant for a while.
So-
But it's exciting for Gulf Power to bring this, especially at no additional cost to our customers. Rates did not go up because of this project, and everybody wants renewable, but you have to find renewable that makes economic sense for your customers. And this.
So do
that.
they sell the power to you, or do you get it for free from them? How does
Oh,
that
no,
work?
We buy the power.
Okay.
Yeah, we buy it and resell it.
Okay. So does it do anything to offset costs for you?
It sure does.
How's
It's
that?
lower than our
Okay.
cost of generating, and actually over time will continue to put downward pressure on rates because fuel is free. It's the sun, it's not like you have a continuous fuel cost. So as the period goes on, as the contract period goes on with this, it continues to put downward pressure on prices.
So you guys have put up 3 of these things on military facilities. I'm going to guess that you own pretty good stock of private land where you could do this too.
We could probably do it, but then you're talking about not being able to keep it at a cost that's affordable.
So the
So
land
this-
acquisition cost.
Right, so the land, it helped, it really was, and it sounds cliche, a win-win-win. It's actually a win-win-win-win. It's a win for the Navy, it's a win for Coronal, it's a win for Gulf Power. It's a win for Gulf Power customers as well.
You're going to show us how it's functioning?
Yeah. You know, as the clouds have come in.
So it was functioning, what, 41, 42-ish? So it was it was close to full capacity today.
Yep.
So a bright day and
Early.
it's going to output 50 megawatts. Wow.
Sure will.
You said this is 2% of your total, and in total you have about 11% that comes from renewable?
2% from solar, right?
Okay.
And then 11%
From this field or
from-
2% from the 3 fields together?
From the 2% from the 3 fields.
Okay.
And then 11% altogether. Because we have a similar project, a similar deal out in Oklahoma with our wind farm, and where we buy the wind energy, and then that's put.
That's big. That's
Yeah.
274 megawatts, I
Yeah.
think.
And I've got some information
Okay.
on that in here.
That's a big one.
They're so new, nobody has any age on them, or significant age.
So I mean, to me, I look at this, the glory of this thing is you don't have any railroad track delivering anything.
Nope.
You know,
Beautiful thing. If they can only figure out a way to get 1,000 megawatts out of this.
Yeah.
One day,
Well,
they continue to improve.
That's true. More efficient, probably more durable and long lasting. Those are all kind of things that could come down in the future.
Where are these panels manufactured?
These were in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Okay, so they are American panels?
These all 3 sites have American panels.
Do we have a projected lifespan for the panels?
20 years is what the manufacturer guarantees, and then they actually guarantee the rate of degradation.
Okay.
So like a 0.5% degradation in output every year, and so they say, yeah, it's going to stay. I think whatever it comes out, about 80% of what new life would be, and if it gets below that, they'll replace it.
Okay.
And so, since they're standing behind it for 20 years, we feel like it's probably good for 35.
And what was the cost? I know the Navy or the military was paying for it, but do you know what the cost for them to do the project was?
Well, that was
That was Coronal.
Or Coronal.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
Don't know.
Okay.
I mean, it's part of their economics on that.
Yeah.
And then
Give you some context at Corona
Right.
if you're interested. Though.
Yeah.
I was just kind of curious to wrap my brain around, what was invested in making this happen. So.
In 2014 is when we actually made the deal or started the negotiations. In 2015, the Public Service Commission approved it.
I'll get
Okay.
back with everybody.
So if you go back and look at utility scale solar pricing back then, it's pretty generic.
Okay.
But I mean that would be pretty close.
How many panels are out here?
Here, there are. See, there's 1.5 million on all of them.
Yeah.
Wow.
This
If I
one
have
would
to-
have.
So it'd be more like 600,000 here,
Yeah,
based
something
on
like
share of the
that.
power output.
Yep.
And they're hurricane resistant.
The design is designed for 140 miles an hour,
Okay.
and so
And this far inland.
yeah, we hope we don't have to test it.
600,000.
600,000 out here.
You guess that.
That's just good math training. Is all that is.
Yeah. Well, what you'll find is when you start looking at it, they will the way they price or the way the solar. If you start looking into solar resources, they price it in dollars per watt DC.
Okay.
So these designs are what they have a ratio of 1.3. So you have 30% more DC installed to get the AC out. Get that?
No. Sorry.
So if you take 50 megawatts
Mm-hmm.
or 50,000 kilowatts, and then do another group of zeros and multiply times 1.3, you'll get the watts DC.
Okay.
So it's just by thousands.
Okay.
And I'll get with Coronal.
Yeah.
Lanes of the gas, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
information. So,
Yeah.
like if you wanted to know how a transformer worked, you could hold it up to the transformer
it's going
and
to
it
create
would.
a lot of havoc with the finances.
It would be located by
Because
GPS, and you could hit a button and it would explain how a transformer
There's an
worked.
issue of
The historical aspect is really cool. What was here? What building
Right.
was here back then?
And
What
so for
How has it
planes were
changed?
out on this
will
runway?
not finance
You like those
the
pictures you see
house,
with the split?
which is
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
History.
yeah, so, yeah, that's a good point.
So that's 2%.
So you're saying like the rooftop solar, they have a lien on it. Hey, did you hear about that, Jeff?
What?
Tell them what, you was talking about.
Well, when you have these baselines, in California, they have a superior position to a mortgage. So the result of that is FHA will not finance a property baseline.
With us, a lien, like someone who got a.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It has prior
Wow.
standing.
Really?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's,
That's not good.
well,
So-
if you're a lender, you want to protect your position.
Yeah, yeah. That's for sure.
So, I guess that, gives
So this
us
is
a
all
more,
just abandoned?
No, there are actually offices in there that are actually used.
I mean, that
Huh.
makes these a little more beneficial on these utilities.
There's,
where
the
owners
Navy
are
Schools
not
Command was out there for a
bearing
while. They have
the
all the online training and online
Right now, or are you?
degrees and that type of thing.
That's just part of the generation,
All right
it's
in
not
there.
just sitting it
Still
down.
is.
Well, you're
Pressure.
paying
There's a call center in
cost
there.
based on
Navy call
guessing
center.
productivity. So what you're really doing is buying the wholesale solar retail.
Yeah.
As long as the cost is lower than otherwise would be.
Right. Well, people, we know a lot of our customers want that renewable energy.
This is much.
So I didn't
bigger.
realize it even came down this far. I hadn't been seen this far.
We're good. Go to the inverter, yeah.
This is much bigger.
What is this road up here, Jeff?
Am I right that this is just a piece of this base, that there's more of it?
Oh yeah. This is the actually, it is Pensacola is miles south.
Saufley, a major facility at one time.
Those little boxes here at the end, you see?
Yeah.
They're tying all those panels together and sending the power as one cable.
Where's the cable run? Under the
Underground.
strip?
Mhm.
Okay.
It's underground and runs to
Not so-
all of them tie in and go to the inverters.
Okay.
Here you
And
see
the inverters do two
solar.
things. They transform and they also step it up and make it more powerful.
If
It
you
goes to
drive
the
from the
substation
rocket
and
ship
steps it up again.
Right at the rocket you roll through, right outside the fence. And then
Intensifies it.
there
It
is
really does. Steps up the voltage and then for traveling over
gotta
the
have
high voltage lines, and then it'll go to another substation, will step down and then distribute.
Like lift stations do for the sewage.
down
Yeah.
to rocket to the fence.
Except with ours, you can watch TV and browse the internet
Yeah.
and cook your favorite meal.
Have you ever seen
Make coffee, my favorite thing.
they straighten the frames?
I noticed one panel back there that looked like it had been maybe cracked and soldered or something. Just,
I think that was her.
I did see
it looked
them.
metallic, that's why it appeared to me, but I could be wrong.
They don't solder them,
Yeah.
they'll replace
Well, like
them.
this right where
Do animals do, yeah, like that?
Yeah, that's I think
It's just
they
bird,
sit-
okay.
I have a picture when we were over at Holly of a hawk sitting up on top of it. In fact,
That's an
my-
inverter.
Like they like
A freedom right there.
It's
funny,
not quite the Blue Angels.
We were out at Eglin. When was it? When did the sun come out?
About
At
10.
Eglin?
Oh, wait,
When it started buzzing?
about 10.
Because it was overcast and then the sun came out and the inverter started buzzing. That's how you know it's working.
So they bring this whole thing out of the trailer.
So tell me again, Jeff, what the inverter does.
Sure. So the solar panels are collecting all the energy from the sun, and they're feeding it to collection boxes, which bring it right here to this inverter. This inverter does two things. It converts it from DC, which is direct current. That's like a battery would be, direct current energy, to AC, alternating current, which is what you use in your home. It also, the second thing it does is it steps up the voltage of the energy. Then it sends it to the substation, and the substation captures that energy, steps it up, and sends it out on our transmission lines, where it goes to another substation in your neighborhood and mine, where it's distributed out to homes and businesses.
Because over a distance, it's going to decay some.
It will, and so that high voltage lets it hold more of its properties as it travels. There'll be some loss always.
And there's just this one inverter for the entire
No,
place?
there's probably 20 inverters out
Okay.
there.
So it gets bundled at these little junction boxes
Yep, that's
here
exactly right. So
and brings
all
it to
these
the
are-
local inverter,
Yep.
which then pumps it up and combines with the other inverters to go out to the, what'd you say, substation?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's exactly right.
Unless there was some kind of weird. The hardest or the most maintenance is scrap. The highest cost.
Say that again? The inverter does what?
The transformer, the output of the inverter is 3-phase, 480 volt,
Okay.
and then that transformer transforms it from 480 three-phase to 34,500 three-phase power. And then it's transmitted all the way to our Mobile Highway substation at 34,500.
Okay.
And then it gets stepped up to 230,000 volts
Wow.
right there.
Now there's, what do you say, about 20 of those out here?
Yeah, 23, I think. There's 4 what we'll call technicians. One of the guys is the lead tech, or superintendent. I call him superintendent. They're thinking about adding another guy because most of the jobs, if the superintendent's having to do meetings and stuff like that, then we only got 3 guys. And most of the jobs require 2. I guess partnership with the military was we negotiated the property and then we subleased it. We just passed the lease on to subleased it to Coronal.
Okay.
So
the military owns but leases to you.
To us.
Okay. See, I didn't understand that either.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. That's how come we're kind of integral to what goes on. In other PPAs, purchase power agreements, generally we don't really care, what goes on inside the fence because it's owned and operated by an outside entity. But in this
you just want the power that comes out of it.
Yeah, we just buy the power. In this case, since the military is like our largest customer in Gulf Power, we wanted to kind of maintain some control to be able to make sure that this was a good facility.
Okay.
And the way we did it was we're the leaseholder. We were able to negotiate with Coronal that they would actually build this to Southern Company standards.
Okay.
So we knew that the engineering was solid. And there is a possibility in the contract that we could purchase it at a later date. The problem is with the investment tax credits, we couldn't monetize those right away, which is what an independent or non-utility owner can do. So they immediately, rake in 30% tax credit.
So because of the structure of the incentives, they were able to make it financially productive for them to invest in building them, and then you just buy the power from them. Whereas if you built it yourself, you wouldn't be able to make it work financially the same
Yeah,
way.
At that time, we couldn't.
Okay.
You know, and the key is keeping, these projects. We have to keep in mind whatever we do that it's, benefits our customers. You know, it's cost effective for our customers.
Yeah.
And that's what is at the heart of the way we go about adding these new renewable projects.
The pricing has come down to the point now where,
On the panels, you mean, or?
well, on the whole facility,
Okay.
all the solar pricing has dropped in the last 3 years a fair amount. I'd say over 30%. So, and panel prices have been driving it down.
Mm-hmm.
So we would, now it would be a viable cell phone type proposition. So we're looking towards in the future to build our own.